Welcome to Podcast with Smart, brought to you by Start with Smart. I'm Shayna, your host, and I'm joined by company owners Scott Simpson and Scott Dunn. Join us as we uncover the world of smart home automation and security. Whether you're a homeowner or a business, Podcast with Smart has the tips and trends you need to make your homes and businesses smarter and safer. Let's get to it, shall we? All right.
Cool, you're right. Fancy seeing you.
All right.
How you guys doing? You all right?
All good, yeah?
Good.
Yeah, all good. All good in the world of Start with Smart.
Tell me a little bit about Start with Smart. What sparked its creation?
Well, what sparked its creation? So I think it was in 2017, September of 2017, we incorporated the limited company. It was born out of my sort of want to do something for myself. I was working in employment at the time, and I had a conversation with the boss I was working for and said I want to take my career to the next level. And there unfortunately wasn't many opportunities to take a promotion where I was, so it seemed like the best course of action was to start something of my own. Yeah.
Nice. So obviously you're both the beauty and you're both the brawn.
I'll take that.
Aside from me, who is the brains of the operation?
I think we got a low beach in that one, didn't we? I think for the back end stuff and the pencil's yours, isn't it? The sword's mine. And
I think different brains, isn't it? I think I sort of concentrate primarily in the business of sort of the strategy moving forward. We try to refine our marketing, we try to refine the way we deliver our service, we try to refine the products that we offer. I'm good at the two formers, and the latter is Mr. Dunn's remit here. He seems to have a gift when it comes to all things technical.
Technical wizard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little fingers, little wires.
Yeah.
What do you think sets Start Smart apart from similar ventures that are out there?
Well, I think that's the point really. There isn't many similar ventures out there doing the sort of variety of solutions that we offer. There are plenty of security companies out there, some of which might focus primarily on domestic market and offer intruder alarm solutions, for example, into homes. And there's plenty of commercial security companies out there too, focus more so on schools, organisations and things like that. Equally, there's a few smart home technology companies in the region that will offer that sort of high-end home automation, but actually none that I'm aware of that offer all of those services to a professional accredited standard.
Nice. What are some of the cool things that you guys offer? Obviously, it's quite a large selection of things, but
It's the combination of everything that we do put together, like you said, from a certified standard, and everything being collaboratively designed in such a way that everything works together seamlessly, and having that level of sort of design between us, between the smart home stuff and the security, and being able to do it in a way that can be sort of passed to insurance companies and certified for police response for the alarm, while still being able to integrate it with the smart home and having all of the functions and features that come along with that. There's not many people that can put that together.
And I think on a product level as well, there's a bit of a divide between us, isn't there? I'm like, when I first started the business, we primarily did Wi-Fi and smart home solutions. And then Scott, you come on board I think it was about a year into me being in business, you started working with us.
Yeah.
And then since you've obviously joined the company as a director, but Scott's come from a security background. So personally, I think smart home stuff on a product level is the coolest. But I'm sure Scott might think otherwise.
I used to be stone cold. No, look at all my gadgets. But no, I think there's definitely a sort of form and function sort of balance, isn't there? I think a lot of the professional products, there's no bells and whistles on them really. But when you get to the more smart home stuff, their sales features are the bells and whistles. So
it's certainly more glam, isn't it? I think
definitely.
But when you look at the sort of commercial scale security solutions and you start like thinking about how you can like monitor a whole site with things like AI-driven video analysis, and there's plenty of innovation going on in the security world as well. It's much better to have a seamless control of a lighting circuit in a home, in my opinion.
Yeah, well.
So it's been about 6 years since you launched, essentially. Have there been any hiccups throughout the time, we've right in through the early days or even now?
Too many to count, I would say.
It would be weirder if there weren't, wouldn't it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think as with all things, I think you learn from the mistakes you make. And yeah, we've made plenty along the way. But one thing I am proud to say is that we are continuously improving, and our services today are exponentially more efficient, better for the customer, better in so many ways than what they were when we first started. So that's sort of how I measure things. As long as we're progressing, we're happy.
Nice. And there was some sort of panorama thing that happened and affected quite a lot of people. How did that shake things up for Start With Smart?
Oh. The unnameable pandemic. We pushed through, didn't we? We had
a time.
It was a weird time, and we did not lose work, but we kind of quietened down a fair bit. But we pushed through because our offering allows us to do a lot of stuff remotely. So customers that were having to work from home themselves, we were able to assist them with their internet and things like that. So we managed to offer some value in and around that space, but we did sort of lose a fair bit of the physical installation work and stuff. And as did everybody, really. It was sort of a batten down the hatches and hope for the best kind of situation for a lot of people, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we couldn't actually shut because we the services we offer with the security systems, it was classed as a critical worker, so we had to remain open and support the systems that we had in place. But yeah, it certainly did quieten down. But it was kind of a refreshing time in a way, I think. Both as a business, we sort of went inwards quite a lot, and we managed to find the space and time to actually think about some improvements we could make, and do that without trying to do all the installation work as well, which is a small and sort of dynamic team. It's always been a challenge, isn't it?
There's only so many pairs of hands, and you can't be everywhere at once. I mean, one of the big things that come out of that time was the CRM that we developed, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was
that
was a
absolutely.
big one.
And we had a far better, a vaster product offering as well, didn't we? We had the time to look at some of the products that were out there on the market that perhaps had missed our attention because we were so busy, and we were able to fairly assess which ones might be appropriate, more reliable, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was lots of improvements to take away on a business level, but I think also on a personal level as well. I think we've come back into the swing of things now with a bit more of a healthier outlook on work-life balance and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, a bit more hopping and skipping going on rather than the late nights and early mornings.
Yeah, sure.
Were there any unexpected wins or anything that you found quite cool that came out of the experience with the pandemic, other than the discovery of work-life balance?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's a good question, really.
Well, I think I dropped that one already. I think that CRM was probably the win out of that. It's streamlined so much of our working practices and being able to speed things up in the office for you, and the information I've got available to me while we're out with the team doing work, and everything's sort of, the communication is there immediately and information is there immediately, and it just saves so many phone calls and balls being dropped, if you like.
Yeah. And we've recently sort of, we always said, didn't we, that as a business we wanted to be a company that developers, builders, anybody with a business can come to us, and they can actually move quite a large proportion of their regular services that they might have in and around the security systems, IT systems, Wi-Fi, move that into the management of one company that's professional and accredited. We'd always said that's where we wanted to arrive as a business.
Yeah.
That's where we wanted to be. And it kind of felt like in the lead up to the pandemic, we were so busy doing everything, we weren't really progressing that. And then out the other side of it, we've maintained our security accreditations.
Yeah.
We've now onboarded with the BAVE accreditation for our fire systems.
It's a big one for us.
We've got things happening in the Wi-Fi and network offerings that we offer to sort of progress that in a more professional direction. So it feels like we're really sort of pressing forward with what our initial concept was.
So now things are kind of shifting back. What's on the horizon for Start With Smart?
more of the same, but bigger and better, I think, is the way to summarise it. Now that we've got our BAFE accreditation, I think we're going to try and push forward and make sure we've got a healthy portfolio of fire alarm systems to look after, and that will naturally lead to all of these buildings have usually got some form of security systems that we hopefully can help assist with as well. So
yeah, and I think one of the biggest challenges sort of facing us in the next 12 months is going to be staffing. I think we've really got to pay some close attention to that, because as we get better at all things marketing, with the wonderful help of you, Shayna, steering that up for us, thank you. As we get better at sort of putting the message out of what we do and what we offer, and we're seeing it already. We're getting more inquiries than we ever had before, and if we're not switched on to the fact that we need hands on deck, we might see our service sort of start to suffer a little bit. So we're paying very close attention to that at the moment. We've got a job advert out at the moment for an apprentice, which we're hopeful will start with us around the end of October, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, in the next couple of months, certainly. Yeah. I'm hoping to get some information about that. Come back to me soon.
And they're going to be paired up. They're going to be paired up with you initially, aren't they?
Yeah,
learning the ropes
for their sins. Yeah.
What's the sort of ideal candidate that you're looking for the apprenticeship? So I've got a vision. Obviously, at the moment there's 2 of you and there's 1 of me.
Yeah.
And it would be great to see more women in STEM, so in science, technology, engineering and mathematics, for those of you that don't know what that is. It would be great, but obviously it can be quite a male-dominated industry. So trying to get young women kind of involved is a challenge in itself. But aside from gender, what kind of person are you looking for, like personality-wise?
Well, it's a difficult trade, because the security industry carries a level of technical expertise that you don't need as an electrician. So there's a balance of being somebody who's keen and excited to be out and around and working with their tools, and at the same time have a kind of keen interest in electronics and gadgets and how things work. So I won't say it's a very specific person, but there's quite a lot of sort of avenues to go down in the ideal candidate. Training is by the by, and sort of an aptitude is by the by. Everything is the sort of thing that needs to be learned in that kind of industry. But somebody who's excited to get out of bed in the morning and really have a go at learning something new every day, and really want to personally develop into an industry like security and smart home. It's got a good place to be. It's ever evolving. No products stay the same. There's always something new to learn, as we constantly find out ourselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, quite excited. And to your point about gender as well, I've always said I'm quite keen to have a female apprentice, and I'd quite like to see it myself.
How do you guys keep the connection going with your clientele, whether they're businesses or individuals? Is there a way that you kind of keep a conversation going, or are you hoping to kind of reach out to them again, see if they've got any recommendations for perhaps their friends or other businesses, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's something we've sort of asked this question, haven't we, in the last couple of months as a business. We've explored loads of ideas with it. I think there's a bit of a natural thing that happens where we're sort of very consultative with our approach with anybody that we're helping for anything really, and it's a very friendly dynamic really that's at play. And my phone's always open and everyone's got my number. Tends to be that people contact us fairly regularly throughout the year for various queries. We don't always get involved in a project off the back of those queries, but it's always a phone call that's welcome. So we do it on a personal level like that, but we also want our marketing to really speak about what we do, and hopefully the people that we've helped so far will see that and share that, especially if they've had a good experience with us. And then soon to be some letters going out in the post. We want feedback. It's not something we've really asked for much along the way. When something goes wrong, obviously we know about it, but we would like to get a good bit of feedback from people we've helped in the past, and we'll get that on a website or a review page, and it will help us just understand a little bit about what things we could maybe do different.
Do you collaborate with other businesses with some of your stations? I know that with the Everyman Cinema you did collaborate with a couple of different people, but is that something that you regularly do or something you'd like to do more of?
Yeah, it's definitely something we'd like to do more of. The security industry is a funny one. There's various different sizes of companies, all the way from ones like ours, all the way to sort of national businesses, and all the way up to sort of multinational ones as well. And they can't be everywhere. So they use companies like us to sort of help facilitate. Devon and Cornwall's a particularly difficult one for a lot of businesses because they can't come down here. Their nearest engineer's 7 hours away in a van, and they're not going to pay for the hotels. So it can
costly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does become quite costly. So they use businesses like us to help facilitate projects in and around this area, and we quite like to get our teeth stuck into it and sort of look at how companies that sort of size operate and how we can help them and learn from their business practices as well. So it's always an enlightening experience because
it's a two-way street, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always nice to see, and it helps us improve as well because these bigger companies, they've got people in their departments that have refined their processes down to a fine art, and it's nice to see that if they're doing something a particular way, it's maybe something that we should look at changing our process to match, or if there's anything we can do to help ourselves from off the back of that, isn't there?
Yeah, imitation is the highest form of flattery. But no, we have learned a lot. We do a lot of work with property developers, and we do a lot of work for builders and a lot of work with a lot of local electricians as well. So it's not always in the same industry that we collaborate with other businesses. We do it in other industries as well. We find that electricians, for example, will be very, very fluent at what they offer, but when a client asks for something that's a bit out of the normal, something a bit more technical, it can often make sense for them just to sort of allow for us in the project rather than trying to take that on themselves and learn all about the intricacies of what we do.
Yes.
And so for anyone listening, whether they're sort of a company or they are someone you could collaborate with, how do they jump in and become part of the world of Start With Smart?
Pick up the phone.
Email, Instagram. We check all of our social media profiles and all of our pages quite regularly. I say we, Shayna. But it's always monitored. It's always checked. If any message comes to us via any medium, we will see it and we will respond if we can.
And I think you'll soon know as well if you have a technical woe that is annoying you.
Yeah.
Or perhaps you have a project, perhaps you're building a home and you're not sure what sort of blend of technology that you want in the property, and perhaps you're thinking about the future, thinking about how you might be able to give yourself a degree of future proof in the property. Perhaps you've had that conversation with a builder or an architect and really it's not their area of expertise and you're not really getting the answers from them, and you'll probably find a lot of information online, a whole wealth of information on there, and it can be quite confusing. So just picking up the phone to a company like us, you're going direct to an expert who's done it lots of times before, you'll start getting some real clarity and you'll be able to make some informed decisions.
And do you have any wisdom or tips for other ventures that are trying to start a new business, whether it's the same industry or a completely different one?
Start slow.
Yeah, don't run before you can walk. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's value there.
It's absolutely. Yeah, there's I think everybody looks and they get a vision, and the excitement of that vision can sort of put a bit of fog around the basics, can't they? Making sure that your business strategy is sound, your market is there, and that you've got the resources to facilitate your dream.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've had a million ideas, haven't we?
Yeah, and only about 3 of them have been
Yeah. we were going to break the world with 999,000 of them.
Yeah, this time next year, Rodney, isn't it?
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, these two have known each other for as long as I've been alive, which is apparently longer than I look.
That's a scary thought.
How is it working with your sort of childhood bestie?
Besties. Mildly tolerable.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge, isn't it? I think where we benefit is just being able to be completely blunt with each other when it's needed, and just being able to give each other that feedback and know it's not personal at all.
Malice, yeah. I think being able to put ourselves in a position of there isn't anything we can do or say to each other that isn't sort of a step too far almost. So it's just like, if something needs to be said, it gets said. If something needs to be done, it gets done.
Yeah.
So
definitely a pro, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that pretty much wraps up everything I've got on this little thing.
Lovely.
But yeah, that was episode 1. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Podcast with Smart. Don't forget to connect with us on social media for a closer look into the work we do. And if you're eager for more exciting podcast content, be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button. Stay smart and stay connected.